If you caught the news at all today, you'd understand there's a pretty vicious war of words escalating between President Trump and President Zelensky. So we're going to stop to take a look at what's being said first with domestic media, and then we're going to take a trip around the world to see what, well, the rest of the world is saying about it. Okay, so first up, here's the actual statement as per Fox News. It's pretty lengthy, so bear with me. But basically, Trump is going on to personally attack Zelensky, calling him a modestly successful comedian, going on and implies very directly that he was basically continuing the war to just take more U.S. money. He also obviously criticizes Europe and Joe Biden in the mix as to why this took place in the first place. Now going on, if you read the statement a little further, this is where he doesn't directly call him a dictator, but he strongly implies it without elections. That Zelensky essentially is. So this is getting a little bit misworded around the world. But needless to say, it's pretty strong language. Now, worth pointing out that Ukraine is obviously in the middle of a war due to the constitutional restrictions under martial law. They do not have open elections. Otherwise, Zelensky would have been open for an election last year. So a lot of people are pointing out that this kind of plays right into Putin's hands. But let's take a look around the world and see what's being said. All right, first up, we're going to go to England, arguably our strongest ally. We're checking out the Independent. Now, it's not necessarily headline news in England as of yet, but a lot of if you read through the byline section, Trump's true social rant this morning, unhinged, and again calling out a tirade against dictator Zelensky. Not exactly what Trump said, but it was kind of in the mix there. Pretty on point, suggesting Ukraine continued the war to just get money. Now, let's go into Francais. Now, this is France 24, also covering it from a not very pro-Trump perspective. They're commenting. They're basically looking at Zelensky's counterpoints here. Accuses Trump of falling for Russian disinformation. That seems to be a consistent argument because, again, a lot of the things that President Trump is saying does kind of go along with what Putin has said in the past, pushing very hard for Ukraine to have elections last year. Because Vladimir Putin cares about the Ukrainian people? No, probably not. It's definitely not. It's that he wants to basically use the election as an opportunity to sow a lot of misinformation, create a lot of havoc within Ukraine itself. Very popular move among the Russian or Putin regime. Now let's go on to Germany. Again, just keeping up with the trend. First headline on DW News out of Berlin. Trump calls Zelensky a dictator. Again, that seems to be the tagline, the headline around the world today. Now let's look at what Kiev is saying. Now, the Kiev Post, one of the most popular Ukrainian papers, is analyzing this and really kind of focusing more on the meeting between Mark Rubio and his Russian counterparts in Saudi Arabia earlier this week. Basically making the analysis that the Trump team was untested and were kind of had things handed to them by the Russians. You could, whether or not you believe that to be true or not, again, just making a general analysis. And then a lot of focus is put on how Ukraine or European allies are basically seeing this. The Swedes are arguing that, what happens next, both with the outcome of the whatever peace agreement, will largely shape European security for a generation or two to come. So lastly, and I thought this was interesting, let's look at two Russian stations. This is RGRU. Kind of quiet on the actual talks. I thought that was fascinating. Not a lot said there. They just reference Sergei Lavrov, which is their equivalent to our Secretary of State, basically making some statements about the actual meeting in Saudi Arabia. And this is another point. It became clear why Trump reminded Zelensky that Kiev was not touched by Russian missiles. They're trying to highlight, because there's part of the back and forth, that the Ukrainians have obviously made the point Russia has targeted civilian infrastructure. Russia's trying to make the point, no, it's never happened, never done it. So they're reiterating something said by Trump. But again, not much said about the actual high-level talks between Trump or Putin. I thought that was fascinating.